Everyone remembers Salem as the place that hanged witches. Nobody remembers what happened to the girls who pointed the fingers. And that story is almost entirely wrong. The popular version goes like this. A group of teenage girls got bored, made up some stories, and 19 people died for it. Clean, simple, satisfying. The girls were the villains. The end. Except that's not what happened. If you were one of those accusers, you were not powerful. You were not scheming. You were not bored. You were trapped. And the trap closed the second you opened your mouth. It is 1,692. And you have just been born into the worst possible social position in Colonial, Massachusetts. Not poor, not sick, just female, and young. In Puritan Salem, girls your age are the absolute bottom of the ladder. You are expected to be silent, obedient, and invisible. Your entire existence is organized around domestic chores, prayer, and absolute silence. You exist to serve. You do not get opinions. And yet, here you are, completely ignored. Ministers ignore you. Magistrates ignore you. The entire colony runs on your labor and treats you like furniture. You are 12 years old, and nobody in Salem has ever once cared what you think. That is about to change. And it is going to ruin your life. The winter of 1,692 starts like every other winter in Salem Village. Cold, gray, and suffocating. Then something strange happens inside the home of Reverend Samuel Parris. His 9-year-old daughter, Betty, starts throwing Bibles. She dives under furniture. She twists her body into shapes that make adults go pale. Her 11-year-old cousin Abigail does the same. They scream, they convulse, they claim invisible hands are pinching them in the dark. Reverend Parris calls the local doctor. The doctor finds nothing physically wrong, no fever, no obvious illness. So he delivers the only diagnosis that makes sense to a 17th century Puritan physician. Evil hand. The girls are bewitched. The moment that word leaves the doctor's mouth, the machine starts. Because now the most powerful men in Salem, the ministers, the magistrates, the judges, are gathered around these two girls, hanging on their every word. Adults who have never once given them a second glance are suddenly desperate for answers. For the first time in their lives, Betty and Abigail have power. And that power is going to cost them everything. Under enormous pressure from those same adults to name their tormentor, the girls point fingers at 3 women. Sarah Good, a destitute beggar everyone already disliked. Sarah Osborne, an elderly woman involved in local scandal. And Tituba, an enslaved woman in the Parris household who, likely knowing that denial meant death, confessed to everything. She told them about a tall man from Boston who was actually the devil, about flying through the night on a pole, about signing his book. It didn't matter that none of it was real. Tituba's confession turned a bad winter into a wildfire, and now the whole colony is watching you for your next name. The adults who finally noticed you will not let you go quiet. Not now. Here is what the courtroom actually looks like. You are brought in. The accused stands across from you, and the judge's men like John Hathorne, who has already decided everyone is guilty, watch you with total expectation. You are expected to react. You are expected to fall, to writhe, to scream that the accused is tormenting you right now, in this very room, with their invisible specter. Here is what the cynical version of history always misses. The girls were not all running a deliberate con. Seal a group of terrified teenagers inside a rigid, freezing, God-fearing colony for months on end, with real war refugees among them who watched their families get killed on the main frontier, and their bodies start failing in ways no one is faking. Real seizures, actual tremors, temporary paralysis. Modern medicine has a name for it: mass psychogenic illness. Severe, unmanageable psychological stress made physical. The adults rewarded every symptom with attention and validation. So the symptoms kept coming. Every single day, in that courtroom, they were writhing on the stone floor for hours, screaming until their voices gave out. going catatonic, and then waking up and doing it again. The judges treated every fit like divine proof. Every scream confirmed a conviction. Your body has become the state's evidence, and you cannot take it back. But what if you tried? What if, one morning, you woke up exhausted and guilty, and you decided to just stop? That is exactly what Mary Warren did. Mary was 20 years old and worked as a maidservant for John and Elizabeth Proctor. She had been participating in the accusations, experiencing the fits, doing what was expected. Then, her employer, John Proctor, a sharp-tongued skeptic, threatened to beat the fits right out of her if she kept it up. And just like that, Mary's symptoms stopped. She walked to the meeting house and posted a note on the door thanking God for her recovery. She told the authorities, calmly and clearly, that she and the other girls had been pretending, that it was all a performance, that no one had actually been bewitched. The other girls immediately accused her of witchcraft. Within days, Mary Warren was arrested, chained, and thrown into a freezing prison cell. She was facing the gallows. And so, in a private interrogation room with magistrates pressing her for hours, Mary Warren broke. She took back everything. She said she had lied, that the devil had made her confess to lying, that her employers, the Proctors, had actually bewitched her. She crawled back into the machine. Her testimony helped send John Proctor to the gallows. That is the trap. If you lie to save innocent people, you become a witch. If you tell the truth, you become a witch. The only way to survive is to keep killing. You are 12-year-old Ann Putnam Jr., and you are the most dangerous person in Salem. Except you didn't get there alone. Your father, Thomas Putnam, files most of the formal legal complaints. The Putnam family has been in a slow, bitter land war with half of Salem town for decades. Disputes over property lines, inheritances, political influence. Rebecca Nurse's family, the Porter family. The Nurse and Porter families have been winning. Until now. Your father hands you the names. Your visions conveniently target his rivals. The court treats your 12-year-old testimony as divine revelation, and the men with the actual grievances sit safely in the back of the room. You are not the mastermind. You are the weapon. The hysteria finally breaks in early 1693, mostly because the accusers overreach. They start pointing fingers at the governor's wife. Governor Phipps dissolves the special court. Spectral evidence is banned. The trials collapse almost overnight, and then the adults go home. They leave you with the wreckage. Ann Putnam Jr. never marries. Her health never recovers. The years of courtroom performances, the screaming, the writhing, the hours on stone floors leave permanent damage. Her parents both die suddenly in 1699. She is 19. She raises her 9 younger siblings alone. She never marries. In 1706, she stands in church while the minister reads her words out loud. She said the devil had deceived her. She asked forgiveness for the blood on her hands. She named Rebecca Nurse specifically, the woman she had helped execute when she was 12 years old. She is the only accuser who ever says sorry. Betty Paris, the 9-year-old whose fits started everything, is quietly shipped out of Salem by her parents while the crisis is still burning. She fades from the record, lives quietly, disappears. Abigail Williams and Mary Warren vanish from history entirely after the trials end. No marriage records, no death records, no letters, nothing. 2 young women, used completely by the machinery of the Colonial court, and then discarded like spent evidence. 300 years later, the story has been simplified until it barely resembles what actually happened. So here is what the Halloween version always gets wrong. The girls were not just bored teenagers running a prank. Many of them were orphans of the brutal frontier wars between English colonists and the Wabanaki Confederacy in Maine. Historian Mary Beth Norton has documented extensively that the most aggressive accusers had watched their parents and siblings get killed in raids. What modern psychology would call severe PTSD was driving hallucinations that blurred the faces of specters with the faces of attackers from the Maine frontier. Then there is the moldy bread theory. A 1976 hypothesis claimed that ergot fungus in the rye could have caused the hallucinations, a theory that makes for a great headline, but collapses under scrutiny. Ergot poisoning affects everyone eating the same food supply. The fits were highly situational, starting and stopping on social cues and courtroom proceedings. You cannot poison your way to a verdict. And the burning. Everyone pictures burning. It didn't happen. Under English common law, witchcraft was a hanging offense, not a burning that was continental Europe. But here is the cruelest irony of the whole thing. The 19 people who were executed were the ones who refused to confess. The ones who lied and admitted to witchcraft were spared. Salem hanged its innocent people specifically because they would not say they were guilty. You are Ann Putnam Jr., and you are standing in church in 1706, listening to a minister read your words out loud while the whole congregation watches your face. The 19 people are still dead. The land is still in other hands. Your father is gone, and so are your parents, and so is most of your health. You were 12 years old when it started. You were told your visions were sacred. You were told you were doing God's work. The judges believed you, used you, handed down their sentences, and then went home to write their memoirs. Cotton Mather, who insisted on George Burroughs' execution even after the man recited the Lord's Prayer perfectly on the gallows, something witches supposedly couldn't do, never faced a single consequence. He kept preaching until 1728. He died, celebrated. You die at 37, sick, unmarried, remembered as the girl who helped kill her neighbors. The real horror of Salem is not the hangings. The hangings ended in 1692. The horror is what the system does to the people it uses. It burns through them, discards them, and then starts over somewhere else with the exact same playbook. The girls of Salem were not given power. They were handed a lit fuse and told it was a torch. And when it went off, nobody was standing there to take the blame but them.